the sound of chains, the crack of a whip, then silence. Under the blistering Texas sun, a young girl stood barefoot on a wooden platform, wrists bound by rusted iron. The crowd stared at her like they were choosing livestock. The auctioneer grinned, sweat running down his neck. Even 4 years after the Civil War had ended slavery, shadowy auctions like this still thrived in hidden barns where desperate folks were sold off like debts to evade the law. Next one. 17. No husband, no family. Been sold 3 times already. Won't talk, won't work. $5 to start. No one spoke. A man spat into the dirt. Ain't worth a dime. The girl's name was Lena Cartwright. Her dress hung in tatters, dust clinging to her skin. Her hair stuck to her face, hiding the bruise on her cheek. She stared at the ground, unmoving. She'd stopped crying long ago. Crying never changed anything here. Then a voice cut through the silence, calm, deep, steady. I'll pay 20. Heads turned. At the back of the crowd stood a man in a faded brown coat. His name was Grant McCade, 56, gray stubble on his jaw, a man who looked like he hadn't smiled in a decade. $20? You sure? I'm sure. The gavel slammed down. Sold. When Grant stepped closer, Lena didn't move. She didn't even look at him. Then he saw her wrist, a small crescent scar. 8 years ago, he'd wrapped that wound himself for a little girl who had asked if it would leave a mark. He'd told her no. He'd lied. The auctioneer shoved Lena forward. Grant caught her before she fell. Her skin was burning hot. When she finally looked up, her green eyes were hollow. Lena, he whispered, but she didn't recognize him. Or maybe she did, and wished she didn't. Outside, the wind carried the echo of the gavel. Another life sold. Grant counted his last coins and walked away with the girl who hadn't spoken in years. The dirt road stretched beneath a merciless sky. Lena walked behind him, chains clinking softly, a sound that reminded him of everything he owed. After a few miles, Grant stopped his horse, pulled out a key, and unlocked her shackles. No one should wear these in a free country, he muttered. They rode in silence. Dust rose around them like ghosts of the past. Later, under the shade of a lone oak tree, Grant handed her a canteen. She hesitated, watching him like a snake ready to strike. Finally, she took it, drank, then looked at him for the first time. Guess you got what you paid for, she said quietly. Do what you want. Grant froze. Her words hit harder than a bullet. I didn't buy you to own you, he said. I just didn't want to see them sell you again. She let out a short, bitter laugh. You think that makes it better? Silence stretched between them, heavy as the heat. I knew your family, Grant said finally. Your father was a good man. I should have done more when they came for him. Everybody says that after it's too late. She turned away and walked back to her horse. He didn't stop her. He knew he deserved every ounce of her anger. By sunset, they reached Grant's ranch, quiet, lonely land where even the wind seemed tired. He handed her a crust of bread and showed her a small cabin. Inside, he said. She stepped in carefully, like a stray testing the floor. For days, neither spoke. Lena worked silently, feeding horses, hauling water, scrubbing until her hands cracked. Grant fixed fences and tried not to stare too long. They lived like two ghosts sharing the same ground. Then one afternoon, 3 riders appeared on the road. The glint of a badge caught the sun. Sheriff Dalton, the same man who had led soldiers to burn the Cartwright farm. Well, if it ain't Grant McCade, Dalton smirked, then looked past him to Lena. Now that's a face I never thought I'd see again. Grant stepped between them. You've had your look. Dalton's grin darkened. You buying lost girls now, Grant? That what this is about? I paid for her freedom, Grant said, voice low. Not her body. Dalton leaned in close. Her daddy was a traitor, remember? Some ghosts don't stay buried. He set a single bullet on the fence post, a warning, then rode away. Lena picked up the bullet, turning it in her palm. Who was that? Not yet, Grant said. You'll know when it's time. That night, rain pounded the cabin roof. The fire flickered between them. Lena pulled a small silver pocket watch from her pocket, old, worn, the initials RC carved on the back. Recognize it? She asked. Grant froze. He did. Robert Cartwright. Her father. I found it after the raid, she said. It's the last thing he gave me. He told me to keep it safe. Her eyes were sharp but wet. You knew him, didn't you? Grant's voice came out rough. I did. Then tell me the truth. What really happened that night? Grant stared into the fire. My father sold out your family for their land. I tried to warn them, but it was too late. Everything was burning. I was a coward. I lived. They didn't. Lena gripped the watch, trembling. You think telling me this makes it better? No, he said softly. But you deserve to know who you're standing next to. Thunder rolled outside, the earth remembering what people tried to forget. If your father did all that, Lena whispered, why are you the one carrying the guilt? Because I was there, Grant said. Because I did nothing. Because I'm still breathing when they're not. The silence that followed wasn't cold anymore. Just heavy, shared. When morning came, the sky was washed clean. Grant was mending the fence when Lena's voice came from behind him. You're doing it wrong. Her tone was dry, almost teasing. She walked up with a hammer in hand and started helping him. They worked side by side for hours. No words, just the rhythm of nails and wind. Something began to shift. Not love, not yet, but something close to peace. Later that evening, Grant built 2 small wooden crosses by the fence. Robert Cartwright, and simply family. When Lena saw them, her eyes filled with tears she'd held for 8 long years. She knelt, traced the letters, then stood and handed Grant the silver watch. I think it's time you keep it, she said. No, it belongs to them. Then let it stay here. She smiled, small and tired but real. That night, she didn't sleep by the door. She sat by the window watching the stars. For the first time, Grant felt like he could breathe again. Days turned to weeks. Lena stayed. She mended clothes, planted seed, helped mend fences. Little by little, the ghosts began to fade. Maybe forgiveness doesn't come in a single moment. Maybe it grows, the way grass pushes through burned soil, quiet and slow. And maybe that's what healing really is. If you've ever carried guilt too heavy to name, what would it take to forgive yourself? And if someone hurt you, could you ever let them try to make it right? Sometimes, even in the wildest places, people still find their way home. Out here, the land remembers. Every hoofbeat, every grave, every promise left unfinished. Grant McCade thought he could bury his past beneath miles of dust. But some ghosts don't stay buried. And Lena Cartwright, she carried the kind of silence that could break a man or set him free. 2 lost souls. One bound by guilt, the other by grief. Somehow, they found a way to keep walking. Not as strangers, not as enemies, but as the only 2 left who still remembered what was lost. Maybe forgiveness ain't about forgetting. Maybe it's about choosing to keep living, even when the past still rides beside you.